First, let's start with this case. I, 30, found a good manicurist, Nina, fake name, a few months ago. I've been to her salon 4 to 5 times. Sadly, the Nina 40F has multiple sclerosis and EBV, and she needs stem cells transplantation. She is planning on opening a charity fund because she cannot afford to pay for that, $50K. This is all very sad, and I wanted to help her once fund is set up, of course. The thing is, the last time I went to the salon, Nina asked me to give her money, $50, because she couldn't pay her bills. I, of course, sent her the money. I felt really bad for her and didn't hesitate for a second. But almost a week after, she called me and asked for $300, because apparently she has mistaken an amount of the bill for which I sent her the $50 in the first place. I couldn't send her that much money and offered to give her $50 again, and she said okay. I felt weird because I've been to the salon a few times. We're not friends or anything, and I don't think it's okay to call your clients and ask for money. She also called a friend, 30th of mine, who went to Nina's salon as well, and Nina asked her for $300 too. After that, I canceled my appointment and went to a new nail salon. Keep in mind, I've been at her salon just 5 times. The manicurist called me to ask what's wrong, and I said that it's not okay for me to be asked for money, twice. And I understand that she's in a difficult situation, but that's not the way to earn money. She said I'm an a-hole, and I can afford to help her, and I'm insensitive. Also, I want to mention that at the moment, there is no charity fund, and I would have helped with donations once it's set up. Am I wrong? Let's start judging. As far as I know, there is no transplant treatment for MS. I think you are being conned. You're not in the wrong. I would question if she's lying about everything as a scam to get more money, but either way, just quit giving her money. She's ungrateful and weird. You're not in the wrong. I would have canceled and found a new place too. This crosses personal and professional boundaries. Please don't feel obligated to give people answers or money if they ask. You can keep it short and say no. I found a place that's more convenient. You don't owe people an explanation. Maybe they think getting nails done is a luxury, and they can guilt you into giving money. You sound really nice and caring. I used to be more like this, but now I'm old and found people will use you if they sense you are kind-hearted. Of course, you can choose who to help in life, but you can't help everyone. Most important is helping and protecting yourself. You are not an idiot. Next up, I am 27F and married my best friend 28M about a month ago. One of my good friends is a wedding planner, and I used her company for the coordinating. She was a guest at the wedding but had 3 other people from her company work with my husband and I. They were amazing. The whole wedding went perfectly. Not a single complaint about the job the company did. One of the assistants was this guy who looked to be about my age. I didn't give it much thought. This past weekend, I hung out with my friend Clara, 25F. This is the first time we are seeing each other since my wedding. Clara told me a funny story about my wedding. She said a few days after my wedding, she received an Instagram follow and message from someone she didn't know. The gist of the message was that it was from the assistant coordinator at my wedding. He pretty much said that he was working and couldn't say anything, but he noticed her at the wedding and thought she was really beautiful, and he wanted to ask her on a date. She asked how he found her, and he proudly said that he noticed her, looked up the seating chart of the table she was seated at for dinner, and looked up every girl at the table until he found her. She said she wasn't comfortable with that and blocked him. She told me it was funny in hindsight, but at the time she was a little uncomfy. Clara did emphasize to me she didn't think it was a big deal. Would I be an idiot if I told my wedding planner friend about what happened? She will most likely report him to the head of the company, and maybe he will, or maybe he won't be fired. I don't know if I'm being vindictive or not. It doesn't sit right that we paid a guy to do a job, and he ended up stalking and DMing my friend. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. And a lot of people would have an issue with a stranger using his company to find your private, personal information. Dude could have walked up and asked at the end of the wedding to be less creepy, but decided to illegally get a woman's information instead. Jesus, take the wheel. No, 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 no. You're not in the wrong. In fact, you will 100% be the idiot if you don't tell her, because this creep is probably laying her and her company open to all kinds of damage, both legally and in terms of their reputation. It absolutely does not matter whether Clara thinks it's a big deal or not. The next woman might not be so, "No, it's totally okay that men creep on me. Don't mind that at all, lol." And there will be a next woman, and one after that, and so forth. If I were your friend, and I found out that you knew about this and didn't tell me, I would have words for you that you would probably not like. You might think that you're being nicer not to rock the boat, but you're doing your friend a huge disservice, not to mention the fact that you know there's a man behaving in entirely inappropriate ways, and your reaction is to sweep it under the rug. Stop that. It is not your responsibility to see to it that a creep who behaves inappropriately toward women keeps his job. It is arguably partly your responsibility to see to it that he doesn't. You're not in the wrong. He at the very least needs to be told this isn't acceptable to do. Who knows if the company has already had other problems with him? If this is the first, they may just give him a reprimand. But if not the first, it's good info for them to have. Next up, going to begin with saying that legally I am in the clear. It's my property and I can do as I wish with it. I bought a piece of land and had a house built on it recently. There was a gravel road, now paved, that has become my driveway. I guess before I lived there, the locals used it to get around faster. I've been told that if they can't use my driveway, it makes the travel 15 minutes longer. This started when I moved in. The stuff like the yard and surrounding area was not finished, but it was complete enough to move in. My driveway is long and can be exited or entered from two sides. With how the house is built, for them to use my driveway as a shortcut, a lot of traffic would pass right by my house and cars every day. This isn't just people driving. People on bikes and walkers want to use it too. I simply do not want the whole town driving through my driveway every day. I realized it was a problem when I moved in and could constantly hear cars driving through all hours of the night, or voices of people talking and people walking right past the cars. I understood that this property was vacant for a while, so I put up signs saying that this is private property. You can clearly see a house there, and I'm sure they saw it being built. No change. So I put up gates that only me and my wife have access to. It doesn't deter the walkers, but I have plans for that. This caused a big fuss. I've had numerous people knock on my door asking why I put a gate up, saying they will be late to work or school. I had a guy say I made him late to an interview. I just tell everyone that this is private property and that this house didn't just appear here. You saw it built. You saw the signs if this were a route you used daily. Apparently, the police use this as a speed trap area, and I've had police ask me to open the gates. I tell them no. My wife normally is the type to let people use the driveway, but this wasn't normal. Imagine the whole town using it like a shortcut. There was so much traffic constantly. The first complaint I got before the gates were up was when I parked my car on the driveway and not on the part in front of my house, because it was blocking the traffic. I responded, "The traffic of my property?" I've had cops tell me I am obstructing their work. My direct neighbors understand, but town people are just upset that their shortcut is gone. They are pretty upset about the house being here altogether. People would park their cars all over the driveway and my property during sport events. High school football is important around here. I'm not trying to be an evil neighbor. Am I in the wrong? For those wondering, yes, I've talked to lawyers and this is my property. I initially didn't want the two outlets because to me it looks odd. I only have one entrance to my driveway paved and the other one is gravel. I was just going to leave it, but now I will just remove the outlet entirely. My land is still under construction and there will be a fence going completely around my property. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. It's your property and they can't use it anymore. They will just have to get used to going the long way around. If the locals wanted this road so much, then they should have had the town purchase the land and made it a public road. They didn't. Now they have to deal with it. You're not in the wrong. I would also be concerned about liability. What if there was an accident on your driveway? Someone could potentially sue you. If you've not done so already, I would post private property all over and follow through with your plans for the walkers, which I'm curious about. Eventually, people will get used to it. You're not in the wrong, but be prepared for a lawsuit in the next year or two, based on easement rights, though. We had a similar issue and were taken to court based on the fact the road through to our property was used by individuals for 7 years prior, making it their legal easement in our state. Judge ruled in their favor and ordered the private road open as an easement to everyone with business beyond it. I'd get a good lawyer just in case. In some states, counties can claim eminent domain in cases like this, so being staunchly against letting emergency vehicles pass, for example, may not be the wisest decision if you want to keep your road private. Next up, me, F25, and my BF, M30, have been in a long-distance relationship for over a year. I've been visiting him often since I work remotely, staying with him and his parents for 1 to 2 months at a time. We're planning to close the distance soon, get engaged by September, move in with him and his parents by October, and get married in December or January. This living arrangement would be temporary, as he plans to get his own place in 2026. I felt good about this plan until he recently told me I'd need to pay him $500 a month to help cover rent to his parents. I earn $1,600 a month, while he makes around $3,500. He currently pays them $700 monthly. This request blindsided me because it never came up in our many conversations about finances and our future. I'd happily pay $500 and more if we were renting our own place, but paying that much to live with him and his parents doesn't sit right with me. He thinks I'm being greedy for feeling uneasy about his request, as he pays for most things in our relationship. I pay for my own expenses, basically, plane tickets, personal products, and he pays for dates, activities, etc. Living with his parents already feels like a big adjustment. While they're lovely and the house is beautiful, I don't feel at home there. During my visits, I stay in his room all day working, only leaving to eat or use the bathroom, which is right next to his parents' bedroom. I don't have space for my things, so I live out of a suitcase, and I'm careful to clean up after myself every time. He's also said he expects me to cook dinner once or twice a week when I move permanently. Back home, I pay my dad $200 monthly for rent, have my own bathroom, and feel completely comfortable around my family. Moving abroad is already a huge change, and leaving behind that comfort is hard enough. Paying $500 on top of that feels overwhelming, especially when it's not even my own space. I'm open to contributing less, but $500 feels like too much for what I'm currently making. Would I be in the wrong if I refused to pay him that amount? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. But this whole scenario seems very concerning. Engaged in September, move in October, and wedding late in the same year. This is extremely rushed. You have no idea who he really is until you have lived with him for much longer than that. On top of it all, you are moving to another country. Please give your head a wobble. You need to think about this much more. I wish you all the best, whatever you decide. Honey, if I were you, I'd stay where I am. Why is it always the woman who needs to relocate anyway? I understand your job is remote, but I wouldn't put myself in a financial situation where I wasn't able to save money to be independent, especially when you are moving away from all of your support group of family and friends. You would be isolated and at their mercy. There's no need to rush. If you guys are meant to be together, then wait until you can afford a place of your own without living with his parents. You're not in the wrong. This should be a conversation between all 4 of you to decide rent amount, chores, space sharing, etc. for the months 2 married couples plan to live in the same household. And a separate conversation between you and fiancé on how you will split your finances. Truthfully, I would not want my honeymoon to be spent under the same roof as any parents, and would be looking at other options altogether. I'd rather rent a closet than share a whole house.